A warm welcome back to the channel. Lufthansa A340 news. Boeing sued once again and a new aircraft order on the cards. Why not begin with Boeing being sued, a move that comes as the continued fallout of a door blowout incident aboard an Alaska Airlines 737 MAX. 4 flight attendants who were serving the aircraft aboard the flight are now suing the American plane maker, claiming physical and emotional injuries from the ordeal. The attorney who is representing the 4 flight attendants seeking compensation following the incident put greater pressure on Boeing to prioritize safety and a strong culture. These flight attendants on the aircraft say that compensation will come thanks to the past and future damages that they've faced, which range from mental and physical injuries, the emotional toll, and other costs that have been incurred. The attorney argues that the traumatic incident deserves full compensation, especially considering the fallout from the incident, which the attorney says highlights the incompetence of the plane maker in allowing such a thing to happen. The lawsuits were confirmed at the beginning of the last week and focus on the negligence of Boeing to allow such an incident to occur in the first place, alongside the overall failures to show care during the process of producing aircraft. This does represent one of the many lawsuits that Boeing has faced in recent years, whether from passengers aboard this aircraft or settling ongoing disputes with families who obviously were impacted following incidents in 2018 and 2019. Over to the next story, and that sits with Lufthansa and news surrounding the Airbus A340. In fact, the retirement has a more precise time frame thanks to fresh comments, with Aero Telegraph reporting that the CEO says the A340-600s will not be around for much longer. Based on current forecasting, Lufthansa believes the A340-600s will be retired after the busy festive season towards the back end of this year. While they'll then be pulled from service, the German flag carrier plans to retain the jets for the first half of 2026. Now, these would purely be as reserve before formally exiting the fleet for good. For the German flag carrier, a lot of the A340's retirement rests on the ability to take delivery of more Boeing 787s, which has been increasingly more challenging in recent times due to a plethora of supply chain constraints. Now, however, at least there's renewed optimism within Lufthansa that the Boeing 787s, which had been previously delayed, should be arriving sooner rather than later. While obstacles remain, such as the certification of new business class seats, which is the responsibility of seat manufacturers per key governing regulators and the plane maker itself, there is greater hope. First delivery of the fresh batch is expected to come next month, but many more will follow after that. For the A340-600, the delivery and entry into service of these 787s go hand in hand with the eventual retirement of quad-engined Airbus planes. As a result, and with a track record of missed deliveries, the European carrier has contingency plans which would see the A340-600 fly into next year on scheduled passenger flights, not as a reserve aircraft, if, simply put, the next batch of 787s cannot arrive on time. Lufthansa's A340 fleet has dramatically reduced in recent years as the company has moved towards some of your newer planes, and a decision to axe the A340-600 fleet has been a long time in the making, and it is part of ongoing turnaround initiatives implemented by them to streamline. Even before the emergence of the COVID-19 pandemic, Lufthansa probably felt that it had too many fleet types in its operation, and certainly a larger reliance than it would have liked on quad-engined aircraft such as the A340. As a result, before the pandemic, there were early retirement plans put in place to farewell these planes as the next generation of aircraft began arriving into the airline's hands. Unfortunately, the latter has not gone according to plan. See, in an ideal world, Lufthansa would have proceeded with the retirement of these quad-engined aircraft during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic when demand had dropped, and they would have transitioned towards newer aircraft, foregoing some capacity for the short term for long-term financial gains. But due to the pandemic, supply chains were decimated and plane makers began struggling to meet their delivery obligations, therefore hurting airlines, and especially those such as Lufthansa, stuck in a transitional position. The German German carrier axed many fleet types. In fact, it went even as far as grounding the A340 in a bid to, yes, hopefully remove them from service permanently. But when demand returned, this was fantastic, but a problem had arisen. Lufthansa was one of the many airlines that had axed those larger planes. It means it found itself without as much capacity available, which was fine considering demand was low, and the internal hope was that more deliveries would occur. But because of the global pandemic, supply chains were absolutely destroyed, and those new deliveries were not occurring at the rate necessary to match demand returning. So what did Lufthansa do? Well, they were forced to bring back older planes such as the A340 on a short-term basis, really now short to medium-term basis, to cope. Over to the next story, and that will sit with a new aircraft order. Airbus and Boeing looking to secure a prospective deal in the coming years. The possibility of the new contract comes from LATAM, who published their second quarter results and discussed the future of the fleet. In line with the strategy that is being implemented, LATAM believes that adding more aircraft from various plane makers and even lessors is a very real possibility, with the potential specifically centered around capturing more growth in the next decade. Pouncing on that growth would see opportunities present themselves in the next 2 to 3 years to develop the fleet further. And as a result, the group is internally analysing what the acquisition of new jets, whether provided by Airbus or Boeing, could do for the development of their network in the long term. LATAM has not ruled out any specific aircraft type, even saying that wide-body aircraft would be included with narrow bodies being studied to reveal which avenue is the most suitable to ensure profitability and to fend off competition. In terms of narrow-body aircraft, Airbus is confident it'll be able to win over LATAM for the purchase of new planes, with the group stating the A320 family is of great interest. Away from the more modest single-aisle aircraft, there appears to be a requirement for smaller single-aisle jets, with the A220 product being studied. This would obviously go against the E2. In terms of which way the airline group decides to head, it'll be dependent on the studies, but also what lessors and or manufacturers can put forward to the group as potential solutions. LATAM says there'll be many factors considered, such as availability in regards to delivery slots, to make sure that they can get the planes they need on time. Let me know your thoughts on any of the stories in today's videos. Take care, do be safe, and I'll see you same place, same time tomorrow for your next industry recap.
And we'll fly.